Okay, so we have a 60-minute yin yoga class tonight. You need probably a block, something like it, maybe some books, a pillow, whatever you need. And then something like a yoga bolster. It can just be a cushion, towel, blanket, again, whatever you need. So we're going to start, guys, our practice in just a really comfortable seated position. So you can see when I sit, I'm super comfy. My knees are dropped right down. They're just in line with my hips. I have no muscles switched on right now around my hips, so there's no pressure, which is distracting to us when we kind of take a seated meditation. So if you find that your knees are up, your muscles are going to be working, and then that's going to be distracting. The mind doesn't have as much a chance to drop in. So you've got a few options there. You can just sit up on a bolster or a block or a cushion, so you can see my knees fall even lower. Or the other thing you can do today, because we're not here for too long as this is relaxed in your knees, is come to kneeling. You're always welcome though to sit on a chair, a couch. We just want to have no muscles working and you feeling really relaxed as we take this first bit of class. So go ahead, close your eyes. And then go ahead and scan the body. And see if you can feel anywhere that the body's really working. Are there any surface muscles that are super engaged? And how do you place your body so that those muscles can work less, if not actually switch off? And so you might want to have a go at just kind of shifting around in your posture, like kind of moving your spine a bit like a snake, moving where the shoulders are, playing with the tilt of the hips, even where you've placed your head. You can keep playing with that this whole time, even as I talk. And can you take your attention now into the idea of the chest cavity, the lungs, got the heart in there, the ribs. So feel the chest cavity. Include in that the back shoulders, the back ribs, the spine of the upper back. Now feel the abdominal cavity. Sense of all the organs there in the abdomen. Muscles of the six-pack, the obliques. And include in that the lower back and the lower part of the spine. Now can you feel the breath move in between those two cavities? As though each breath creates this little bit of separation between the abdomen and the chest. Just straight up and down, almost a bit like an accordion being stretched upwards And then relaxing back down. And as we look at this space tonight between the two sections of the body, we look at it through this lens, through this framework of how much do I grip and grab in the outer muscles, the outer tissues. And how much am I able to really soften into and create space from this mid place? And if you suffer from any really chronic sort of grabbing anywhere in the body that's creating a lot of tension, maybe even injury in your body, be interested in observing without trying to find an answer tonight. Just watch. See what happens. See what you experience. Really humble the mind without trying to work it out. Just sit back and watch. Possibly notice something here. And these areas are really key place to unlocking tension in our body. Please bring your hands into Anjali Mudra prayer. Soft Om from this junction between the abdomen and the chest cavity. Feel almost like it reverberates along that line. Take a breath in. Please gently open your eyes. And we begin our practice in a wide-legged child's pose. So your toes are together, knees are out, nice and wide but comfortably wide. Then you choose what you have in front of you. I really like to work with a bolster under my chest. If you feel that that's not low enough, you might want to put a block under the bolster to give you a bit of height. Or if it's too high, you can get rid of all the equipment. But do notice if your butt is really hiked up in the air, really try and relax back into the knees, the hips. And then just go ahead, guys, close your eyes and settle in. So one of the keys that makes yin yoga what it is that once we've found ourselves in a fairly relaxed place in a shape, so you know you're going to be able to hold this shape for a good 3, 5, sometimes something even like 7 minutes, that you're then still. And there's some very deliberate biological reasons for that. And that's because every time we move, even if it's just a flick of a finger or a slight wriggle in the hips or the shoulders, muscles have to fire. So muscles have to have a little communication with the nervous system in order to make that action happen. And what happens is we then leave the nervous system more elevated than it needs to be. And yin is our opportunity to really get down tempo with the nervous system. And especially tonight, as we work in this mid place between the abdomen and the chest, you might notice here that perhaps you tend towards belly breathing or chest breathing. Again, without needing to answer, to intellectualize. Just observe that. And see if you can gently play with balancing the breath in that mid place, the junction between the two. Please notice the things that support you, the mat, bolster the ground. The way we come out of yin shapes is really important, particularly with today's focus. Feel all of the things that support you and push into them. Now come up really slowly so that we don't fire too many muscles, we don't disrupt that system too much. And we'll move straight into our next pose for this one. So you're going to take the legs out wide for a butterfly. I like to give myself a little bit of knee padding, roll my mat up a few times. So knees are out nice and wide. Then you have a look back, place the heels behind the knees and turn the toes out to the side of the room. You don't want to go for your biggest, deepest stretch because we're here for 3 minutes, so it won't be sustainable. So just find a spot where you kind of feel it, you're a bit in it, and then you can start to support yourself. So you can again use the bolster. You might like a block as well for the head. And again, find a place where you can stay. As soon as you've found the shape and you're able to be still, reduce the firing of the muscles over the nervous system. Can you turn back into that place? Almost as though it's a line between the abdominal cavity and the chest cavity. Include in that the lower back, the upper back. And do you need to make any slight adjustments to your posture to be able to breathe there comfortably? Maybe you need to tuck the tailbone under a little, not too much, just a little. And focus again on breathing, watching, noticing. Just 3 more breaths here, please. And again, remember we're trying to reduce as much muscle firing as possible. So go really slowly. I tend to feel that I want to bring my heels in usually a little closer. Walk back, so I'm sitting on my heels. And then I'll bring my knees back in close. So you're going to unwind your mat. Move all of your equipment towards the top of your mat. And just lay down for a moment to notice the effect of that shape. What's happened at that junction between the chest cavity and the abdominal cavity? Maybe nothing. Maybe it feels the same. Maybe you're starting to observe something there. And try as much as you can not to define it yet. We're just looking. Alright, gently come up. We've got lots of options here. I'll walk you through them, and then you can come back and adjust them as you need. So the very first option, just is to put your right elbow in the center of the mat, turn the palm down, and then put the left elbow on top of that, turn the palm down, and that might be enough, and you'll rest your head on the arms. If even that is too much, you can just hug the opposite shoulders and let the elbows come forward. And again, just rest the head between the arms. Okay, the option, if you've got a little bit more range in the shoulders, is to still bring the elbow in, but this time turn the palm up. Take the opposite elbow across, palms up. And if you can, get the palms to wrap. I then usually walk my elbows forward a bit, just to take the shoulder blades off the back, and let my head drop down. Okay, that's your options. If your shoulders want a little bit more from it, you're not getting much out of it, you can add sensation by either using a block to bring the elbows a little higher, or use cushions of varying height. If you've got your yoga bolster, you can do that. So find that one that works for you. Remember, you can cross and hold the opposite shoulders. You don't have to have the hands up. Let the head rest. And again, you're tuning into this place between the chest, upper back cavity, and the abdominal lower back cavity. How do you breathe into and hold attention in that place? Try as hard as possible not to define. If the mind's trying to define or pathologize, just move on from it. Just keep noticing, keep breathing. 3 more slow breaths here. Gently, again, trying to disrupt the surface muscles as little as possible. So in a way that has very, very little activation, very, very little fuss. Unwind. Turn the head to the side. Just rest. Notice how you feel. Okay, please gently take the other side. So this time your left elbow will be the lower arm, right elbow on top. Remember, they can just be crossed on top of each other, is fine. If you want a little bit more from it, put the left elbow in the middle of the mat, right elbow over the top of it, and start with hands on the shoulders. Then if you do have range, you'll start to try the option with the palm facing up. Pop the right elbow over the left. You can stay lower. Or if you want to add a little bit of height to it, you can use either the bolster or a block, cushion, towel, whatever you've got, to give it a little bit of height, which will just make it a little bit more stronger. And then as soon as you can, again, find stillness. Obviously in stillness, if there becomes at any stage in the pose either a tingling, a numbness, or a sharp burning that doesn't feel right, you don't need to stay in that. It's totally fine to remove yourself from the pose early and to rest. It's actually a better option than staying and creating injury. How do you get the breath into that place in between the chest cavity and the belly? You might like to feel, and I often do this, is that I'm breathing into the back bottom tip of the shoulder blades. Almost like I've placed little balloons there and inflated them. About where a heart rate monitor would sit on your back body. one more breath here, please. And very slowly, very gently unwind. Remember, as little muscle activation as possible, as little fuss as possible. Turn your head to the other side and rest. Please gently make your way up to all fours kneeling. Now the option if this next shape gets too much is to take child's pose. So you can place a bolster or a block underneath the head or the chest. If it's available, aim to have hips stay above the knees as you begin to walk your hands forward. And bring your eyebrows and your chest towards the mat. Now if that low takes you beyond and you're in a really high level of muscle activation, you can do it with the bolster. Once you're down in the shape, if you find that you're quite low, and your face feels a bit smushed into the mat, you can actually prop on your chin and look forward. But please don't force that shape thinking that it's more advanced and you'll get more out of it. Especially with today's focus, this mid place, forcing yourself could end up just squashing that place where we're trying to build awareness, build attention, build freedom. So keep focusing this sort of spot between the abdominal, lower back cavity, and between the chest, upper back cavity. Can I hold my attention without me trying to pathologize, have answers? Can I just notice, watch, be curious, allow it to evolve? Because it will, it'll keep evolving while we practice tonight. 5 more breaths here. Keep them slow, steady, supportive, expansive. Be very, very careful here, especially if you were in a really deep version of the pose. Curl your tailbone back towards your heels. Very, very slowly peel yourself back to a child's pose. And you can either prop the hands underneath your head, or you might actually like to bring them back to your ankles. Please slowly come up. And you're going to make your way to lie on your back, using your bolsters for support. So place it underneath your hips, and then come and lay down on your back. And we'll start with our right leg, just take it out nice and long. Fully relaxed on the mat. And once you're ready, can you draw the right knee up into the chest, just as long as the left leg stays long. So it might stay there, but if you've got range to pull it in closer, do that. And close the eyes. And catch here if your mind's trying to find a learning or to find an answer or to find an endpoint and kind of rush there. And we've still got time here, as much as possible. Can you let your observation of this place, this spot between the chest and the abdominals, to stay open-ended? It may still surprise you, and we want to be open to that option. Okay, stay here. You're going to put the right foot back down so it's bent for a moment. Bring the left leg up and pop the heel over on top of the right knee so that you open up into a nice big open figure 4 stretch. Now you can leave the feet here on the mat with the hips elevated, or I really like to actually lift the legs. Take a hold of either the back of the right thigh or the right knee and let those knees fall back towards my chest. Please ever so gently unwind. Prop both knees up kind of over the top of the bolster and then just rinse them side to side a few times smoothly. Just feeling the difference between the two sides, noticing if anything really pulls on this mid spot here. And when you're ready, taking the right leg out long. So let it rest first. If you need to get it long, put the left foot back down, that's fine. If it's able to, though, pick it up into the chest and perhaps hold either the thigh or the shin. Now, approach to a yin practice is really there in the name. You know, in yang tasks, we're going for it, we're active, we're probably working towards a goal. or an end point. And yin's the opposite. We sit back. It's open-ended and we just watch, not sure of what the end point might be. Possibility that maybe there's not even an end point. We just sit back and observe. Please gently bend that right leg up. Place the left heel on top of the right knee, open it wide. And then you're more than welcome to leave it there. But if you're okay, draw the knees back into the chest in your figure 4 shape. Just 5 more breaths here. You slowly unwind. And this time, take the legs up to the roof, above whatever equipment's underneath your hips, so it's straight up. Turn the palms up, close your eyes. And again, just this yin approach, where it's open-ended, we're sitting back, we're just observing. Please take as long as you need to settle your body down into Shavasana. You may like to place the bolster underneath the knees. Some people prefer to place the bolster on top of the thighs or on the hips or straight up and down the body. You may prefer no equipment and to lay flat, and feel free to rug up. But again, with as little fuss as possible, guys. You've done all this beautiful work to soften the body. So with as little muscle activation, find a nice comfy spot to rest. Tune back in again, like an accordion, gently opening up this space between the abdominals, lower back, and between the upper back and the chest. How do you gently open on the inhale and soften on the exhale? And again, stay open-ended here. Catch if you're trying to solve or have answers. If there is an insight that you're meant to get here, it will land pretty heavily, almost like, I think it's Oprah calls them an aha moment. Like you'll really know about it. You don't need to go searching for it. Leave the mind to rest. Feel intuitively into this place. Again, with as little muscle activation as possible. As little fuss as possible. Please gently roll over to one side. Now please transition to seated, hands in Anjali Mudra. Let your Om reverberate just under the chest, above the organs. Inhale. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.